I've had many, many very exhilarating experiences. And one when I was in Paris a couple of years ago.
Get in there a little.
Get in there. And when I was in Paris a couple of years ago, I had this experience on the metro, riding the train. And it was loud, and you couldn't see because you were in a tunnel, and there was rocks along the wall, and it just was very, what I would call soothing. It was so loud you couldn't really hear, and I just found myself wanting to stay on there and ride again. And it's much like this ship, soothing beyond like thought. It feels as if my stream was moving so fast. It was almost beyond my physical ability to keep up with it.
Do you think some of the, well, we want to come back to that, but do you think the reason that you liked it, that it felt exhilarating to you, is because you accepted the inevitability of it and the lack of action that was required on your part at the time?
So it's not action that...
Well, did you hear that? In other words, we'll back up there because we want you to try to isolate, if you can, what was so exhilarating about a train moving in a very fast speed or direction where you had really actually no control over it, couldn't really see where it was going, couldn't really even enjoy the vista of where it was at the time, and yet you liked it and wanted it to keep going. So it was a feeling of motion forward, a feeling of dramatic, powerful motion forward that in the moment required nothing on your part in order to keep it going.
The ultimate allowing.
You think? We do.
It felt that way. It felt so soothing.
And so now talk about this ship. Same thing.
It's the same thing. It's like almost a
so
drunk feeling. Not drunk, but like a drug or something. Just.
What about an environment of well-being where what it is? We'll sort of jump ahead and then come back if you want to, but it's the conscious acknowledgement that you've pre-paved it and nothing therefore is required of you in this moment, which is what utter allowing is. Allowing is acceptance in well-being and acceptance and trust in what you've set forth and an acceptance that all things are unfolding in perfect order. That is allowing that you're describing in a very real, visceral sense.
And I liked what you were saying earlier about the meditation CD, and I've experienced different ways of feeling like meditating. Not, you know what I'm saying, is ways of getting in touch, and that was the question: is this sort of a feeling is the kind of feeling that I feel like I want to milk so that I can feel later when I have trouble with lots and lots of thoughts.
Well, here's the thing: this train that you're describing, and let's call it this path of no resistance, is going to just keep moving faster and faster into more and more pleasing vistas for you. There is no end. And what you are describing is really an ultimate moment of being in the flow. In other words, that's the best in the flow description that anyone has offered so far. It's a feeling of being in the flow, not questioning where you're going, not questioning where you've been, just in the moment, in the flow. And you also help us to say, because you said it so perfectly, you help us to say that when you, in the acceptance of the laws of the universe, and in the acceptance of your worthiness, and in the acceptance of your well-being, and in your acceptance of the vortex, in your acceptance of all of that, there's just this eternal blissful state of being, even though you can't define all of it this red-hot minute, yes? And that you were starting to go there. What do you mean you have so many thoughts?
People have discussed this earlier about the peanut gallery, and
we mean that in the nicest way.
And I had a birthday Saturday, and we had a wonderful party, and I hear people come up here and they seem to be talking about limited by age, and I've seen Esther before talking about friskiness, and I turned 57, and I feel like I am just getting started. And I mean that literally. I'm not bound by age whatsoever. I can't tell you how exciting it is.
Yes. Good. Really good.
I want to skip and jump and play and look like an idiot, I guess, by other people's standards. And this has been a glorious opportunity to practice that because...
Well, what happens is, and you're really right on the right path, but you really, in order to really keep your train moving and keep it moving faster and keep enjoying the ride, you really have to factor out anyone else's opinion of what you're doing on that train, because they'll get you stuck in a tunnel if they can.
Yes.
They don't mean to. They don't mean to. But and so when you understand that your limitlessness is because you're keeping yourself free in your own thought, and you can't be free in your own thought when you are even aware of the opinions of others. So just factor them out, because you see, you know, you have all of the pieces in place. You know that nothing is relevant except what you've put in your vortex and your relationship with it. Anybody else's opinion of it is irrelevant. And so what you're in the process of doing is taking yourself out of the competition. And eventually you'll stop telling us how old you are in the process too. Because that will be irrelevant. In other words, when you talk about energy and alignment and resistance or allowing or energy in motion, the terminology like age doesn't enter in. In other words, terminology like frequency does enter in. Terminology like emotion and feeling really enters in, but it only because we have introduced it to the subject. In other words, your planet is beginning to understand emotion in whole new ways as a result of the person-to-person exposure to resistance and allowing. In other words, it has become an undeniable concept of physics in your physical world. So just...
Wasn't that great?
Just a whale.
Tried to jump a log. But I love it also what you were talking about, the emotion and the music. Because I feel very drawn to music and moving my body. So that, you know, I feel like I've discovered other ways to tune out the peanut gallery.
Well, we want you to adore the peanut gallery. We want you to acknowledge the value of the peanut gallery. We want you to know that it doesn't matter, that everything is adding to everything, to see them as cooperative components in many cases, that at a minimum they are adding to the contrast which is causing your expansion. A lot of that peanut gallery is the reason that your train is moving as fast as it is. In other words, just sort of relax in all of it. But the factor for you that you're working on, the piece that you're smoothing out, is that none of you can be present in this physical body without having an awareness of having been observed by others. So you just have to practice your own view of yourself until it is so dominant that it overshadows any other perspective. And when you do that, you will be forever young. You will be forever well. You will be forever vital. You will be forever all of the things that you're wanting to be. But in the moment that you start factoring in what anybody else thinks about it, now you water down your own resolve. So we're talking about focus again, aren't we? Yes. Very good. Something more?
I'm just appreciating it.
Very good. Yes, indeed. Now what?